you've got lots of clinical experiences, probably more than most applicants do. Well, hey, Becky.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Tell us a little bit about Becky. Start with where you're located right now, and then tell us a little bit of your story, just so we can get to know. I mean, on a personal level, whatever you want to tell us personally, but and then we'll get into the academics and all that stuff.
Okay. Well, my name's Becky. I am in Philly right now, Philadelphia. I recently graduated from Arizona State in 2019 with a degree in biochem. Right now, I am just living in Philly with my parents as I'm just trying to save up money and get some experiences under my belt before I apply to med school. So right now, I am working as a chem tech for a small lab that tests, they make products and I test them. And we sell them to pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies. It's pretty good experience working in a lab outside of school.
So it's interesting to me that you went from Philly to way across the country to Arizona State to go to school. What was going on with that?
One, there's no snow there.
Right.
And I don't know. I just never really been out of state other than like Jersey to go to the shore, Mm-hmm. So, and I never had a passport or anything. So that was kind of my escape from my family and everything.
Totally get it. I totally get it. That's great. Well, Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, we have we're recording this for viewers on the Mapped TV, as well as for podcasts and stuff. And so we'll spend 20 or 30 minutes or so kind of going over your story a little bit, and then we'll hopefully come to some conclusion. So here's your Mapped page, and why don't we look first of all at the GPA graph? So if you go to the GPA graph and just describe to us a little bit about kind of what that shows us.
Okay. Well, I started off pretty low, as you can see, freshman year. I will say high school did not prepare me for college, and I in high school barely had to study. Like I didn't know how to study at that time. I just got A's,
Right.
So I kind of started off freshman year that way.
Yeah.
And freshman year was also when I took calculus for the first time. So that was a change for me. Yeah. Math isn't my strongest point. So that was a change for me too. I cried a couple of times. I'm not even gonna lie. And I don't know what happened here. I just kind of remained, stagnant all up until maybe spring. Is it right here? Okay, fall of my junior year. And that's actually when I started working 2 jobs. And I was working my work study job and I started scribing. So I would scribe Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then overnights on the weekends. And I guess just having stress is what got me good grades, because I knew I had to work harder to get good grades. Yeah. And I want to say around summer before this fall right here is when I decided that med school is where I wanted to go. So I really started to take it seriously. Because if you read my personal statement, like I don't come from like an educated family. I'm first generation. So
it took you a while. Yeah, it took you a while to find yourself.
I didn't have anybody to, ask questions or anything. And I didn't really know what my options were. All I knew was that I wanted to major in biochem. And med school really never crossed my mind until freshman year, So initially I was like, maybe I'll go into research. And then I met my roommates who were pre-med and I was like, oh, maybe I'll go into PA school. And then I decided, no, I want to do med school.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. So, so it looks like the last several semesters were much improved over your
Yeah.
first several semesters. The cumulative GPA is about a 3.26,
Mhm.
science GPA 3.22,
Mhm.
and these are on cumulative. But we do see a good trend on those last several years, or last several
Yeah.
semesters. So that's good.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Sadly, they
Uh,
don't really do much for your cumulative, so,
right. It's a mathematics thing. So,
yeah.
right, exactly. That's exactly right. Okay. So let's scoot over to the activities hours, and then yeah, perfect. And can you scroll down a little bit for that for us, and
Okay.
let us see kind of what that looks like. All right. So we've got um, a whole bunch of medical scribing hours, and
Yeah.
that was that was while you were at ASU, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. So 1,700 hours, and did you enjoy the describing that activity?
I do. I miss it right now, honestly, and it's been
Mm,
really hard to find any scribing opportunities with COVID, so
yeah, sure. Now scroll down a little bit. The additional medical scribe that you have that was also at ASU.
yeah, that's why I was at, yeah, it was my senior year
Uh huh.
plus after I graduated.
Uh huh.
That was for a cardiovascular center.
Okay, so the previous one was in the emergency
Yeah,
department, and then this one, which did you enjoy most?
I
Or
think the ER the most,
oh, really?
definitely. Yeah, the
Fast
card
paced and
and I got to see a lot more procedures. I saw,
Mhm.
traumas. It was kind of exciting,
Yeah, I bet.
and clinical. I didn't really get to see any procedures.
Right, right, right. So you've done a little bit of shadowing, and that was also in Arizona, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't know if I should consider that shadowing. I mean, I guess it could. It was a mentorship program,
Uh huh.
um, and what the doctor would do was, I was a mentee for the ER doctors that I would actually scribe for. It was some program they had going on,
Uh
and
huh.
they trusted me enough to send me into, patient rooms and gather, like, the HPI and past medical history on them, and then, come back, present it to them, and then they would test me like, "Okay, what labs would you order? What imaging would you order?"
Oh
And
yeah.
then yeah.
Yeah. I definitely say that's physician shadowing. I would
Okay.
definitely categorize it. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of nerve-wracking. I felt like the med students who come in and, intern.
Right. Now, did you have med students when you were scribing that they would be observing or whatever?
Yeah,
So you kind of know what you're in for.
yeah.
Good. Okay, let's go to page 2 of the activities.
Oh, could I ask another question, actually?
Absolutely, sure.
So, I have my cosmetology license that I got while I was in high school,
Hmm.
and I don't know if it's necessary to include that. I don't wanna be judged any particular way for having a cosmetology license, um, but I used it when I came home during the summers before starting scribing.
Yeah, sure.
So
Well, I would say you can use that. You can put that on there. I would say that's kind of a call that you would make. It's not really super relevant in terms of
mhm,
clinical activities and stuff like that. But
yeah,
my guess is it does address some of the soft skills in terms of your communication skills with your clients and your ability to establish rapport with them. And
mhm,
so I would say it does have some relevance in terms of the sort of personal traits that med schools are looking for.
okay, okay.
Yeah. All right. Research assistant. Yeah, you talked about that. Video analysis. What's that?
So, um, I was helping a, PhD candidate with her research, and honestly, all I did was analyze um, ant colony aggressions.
Okay.
um, it was some research she was doing for, it was funded by military and it was for drone production.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, that's all I did with that
So you just watch videos
of ants.
of it sounds kind of boring,
It
actually.
is. That's why there's only 112 hours.
That's funny. Oh, good. Okay, let's go back to the dashboard.
Okay.
Great. And down to the prereqs. So you've got all your prereqs done. So that's
Hmm.
good.
Yep.
And you have not yet taken the MCAT. That's correct.
No. Nope.
So tell us a little bit about your plan for that.
I've been studying for the past year. Right now I'm working full time as a chem tech right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just use whatever downtime I have there, studying Anki cards. I come home, I watch, the shadowing that goes on online. I and I'm reading my Princeton review books. I've only taken like 2 practice exams so far. Um, those aren't good yet, but I don't know. I'm kind of struggling with that. I don't really know how to study for it, I guess. I'm just kind of reading and studying flashcards.
Yeah. Kind of sounds like that, you're really approaching it in a do-it-yourself kind of way at this point.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, have you considered, signing up for a prep class, or is that an option for you? Or
I was looking them up, especially on Blueprint. They're just so
Mhm.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get it. But I think, most of the prep companies have it, have a variety of different things that you can sign up for at different price points. And so
Okay.
what I would look at is in those is, you can do a prep, the full scale prep class, which is,
Mhm.
everything, or you can just sign up for their materials, both online stuff as well as printed materials.
Mhm.
So I would say look pretty closely, because the way you're describing your, at least so far, what you're doing, I don't think it's going to be effective. And number
Okay.
one, because you don't really know what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
sort of just kind of not, you don't really have a direction, it sounds like, in terms of
Mhm.
how you're going to be going about the preparation for even taking some of the practice tests. And
Yeah.
what the worst thing that you could do is just get discouraged, and by not really knowing much what you're doing, and then you take a practice test and it's not helping, and you're not doing well on those practice exams, and that can be a real downer. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
we want to kind of get, number one, we want to get a plan where you sort of know what's going on, and you've got a scheme to follow. But we also want to start seeing those practice scores increase, so that motivates you and gives you
Yeah.
energy to
Mhm.
do even more. So
Definitely.
so I would say check out all the test prep companies and see what options they have. It's not an all or nothing kind of thing, but they have different options and stuff, and just see if there's one not only that would fit your time, the time that you had to devote to it, but also your budget.
Okay. But Blueprint is probably the best, right? From what I've heard.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of students that do Blueprint. Obviously, the big ones are out there, Kaplan and Princeton Review, and
Mhm.
I would look at all of them and see, kind of what appeals to you. See if there's any particular things about them. I think one of the biggest advantages to the prep companies are the diagnostic exams that you can take,
Yeah.
diagnostic tests that kind of really help you understand kind of where are the areas that I'm weaker in, that I need to really do some work on,
Mhm.
and where are my strength areas. Why are those areas that are weaker? Why are they weaker? And what can I do to bolster those? So I think the diagnostic tools that they have can be really, really beneficial.
Yeah.
And so definitely check those out as you go along, and
Okay.
kind of see. So at this point, what is your sort of thoughts about, I'm always interested in knowing your thoughts about whether you think you're ready. What do you think an appropriate timeline is for applying and, doing the MCAT and applying and all that?
I don't want to keep, pushing it back. I don't want to get comfortable with doing that.
Right.
So I was hoping to take the MCAT in March. I mean, I have 5.5 months.
Right.
I'm hoping, I don't really know if it's possible while working full time. I'm sure people have done it. But I think right now the MCAT is probably the biggest thing that I'm worrying about, especially now that I've been out of school for a year.
Yeah.
And worrying about whether I've had enough clinical experience or not, and whether my current job would be considered, whether med schools would consider my current job.
Right. Yeah. So let's take it piece by piece. And I think that the activities that you have, the clinical hours and all that is not an area that you need to worry about.
Okay.
You've got lots of clinical experiences, probably more than most applicants do, in terms of direct patient contact, direct patient care. I mean, you've seen it all. You were talking about your experience in the ER and kind of all the different things that you saw, and then just the vast amount of stuff that you're doing, or that you did when you were scribing. Now, did you check? I'm just a little curious. Did you check on the possibility of scribing in the Philly area, or was that an option for you? Or
I applied for Scribe America again, which is who I worked for when I was at ASU, and they require they're mostly looking for weekday scribes, and those shifts are like 8 to 12 hours, and I'm already working weekdays at my lab job.
Right.
So I talked to the the hiring manager, and she said she would let me know if any weekend only shifts opened up, but so far nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I was just sort of curious if that was an option or not. So I think the clinical part, the activities part, is not something that you really need to worry about too much. Now, one of the things that I didn't see, if you could go back to the activity list again, and just scroll through there a little bit. Yeah, go back to perfect.
Okay, so this is my current job up here. This is volunteer work I did maybe sophomore year.
Okay.
Summer.
Yeah, that's one of the things. And then the Red Cross, I guess, was also early on in your academic career.
I didn't do much of that.
Yeah. It seems like you did a lot of the scribing, which you were getting paid for. There's not a whole lot of sort of community effort, volunteer work, stuff like that. So, it's possible that a medical school would look at that and say, when she's getting the benefit out of it from not only getting paid for the activity, but also, it's directly related to going into what she wants to do, then she's all about it. But when it's just kind of helping other people, not so much.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Actually, this summer, me and my cousin, we never followed through with it, obviously, but we were going to do ocean cleaup because we love wildlife, but no, we just never got around to that. But that was something I wanted to add something to add.
Yeah. Well, I think, that's something to just ponder, to think about a little bit. And, and I would say, they don't have to be medically related, healthcare related. It could be anything and I always direct students to, find what passions you have. If you like animals, volunteer at an animal shelter. If you like, whatever really appeals to you. Not only is it motivating because you enjoy it and you're passionate about it, but it's also it's also something that you enjoy doing. It's motivating and enjoyable. So, I would say even if it's just 5 or 10 hours a week that you can kind of pocket in somewhere, any amount of time that you can do over an extended period of time, that can really say, I do enjoy sort of being about something other than myself and what's going to benefit me. And so
Yeah.
I would say, think about that for sure.
Okay.
I think definitely the two things that I would say, if we could go back to the dashboard,
Okay.
the two things that I would say here are, number one, I think what I would really love to see is a continuation of some academic work that shows that the trend there at the end of your college experience is real, because you were trending really well. You were in the sort of 3.7-ish area on those semesters, and you were probably taking some pretty heavy loads in science courses
Yeah.
during that time. And so that's really encouraging, but it's only 3 semesters. So I think it would be great if there was some more additional work. Now, have you considered a post-bac program, or is that something that you've thought about?
I was thinking about it. I don't think I'd be able to afford a whole program.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would be fine if I did, I don't know, like a few classes during the semester, do it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be okay. I mean, anything that you can do. I mean, there's what I always like to say is there's optimal, and then there's acceptable, and then there's unacceptable. If you think of it in those ways, optimally, I'd love to see you go into a post-bac program where you spend, a whole bunch of, you're doing the whole program. If that's not plausible for you, then is it acceptable to do a few courses over a period of time? Then absolutely it is. That's not going to hinder you at all. And particularly if you do well in the courses, then I would say absolutely you can do that.
Okay.
I do think that you're, obviously, and this already. This is not a secret that your GPA is a little low in terms of what med schools are looking for. I'm encouraged by the trend, but would love to see that, continue out a little bit with some additional courses.
Okay.
So that would be one thing. And then, as I said before, I think that the MCAT issue concerns me. That you're sort of kind of I get the picture right now. If I can sort of set it up in a bit of a metaphor, if it's you're kind of like in a rowboat out on the ocean, and you're just kind of taking. You don't really have a sail up. You don't really have oars in the water. You're just kind of floating along, and
Yeah.
that's not a good way to approach the MCAT.
Okay.
And so this is the area that I think is probably more concerning to me than anything. With the picture that you have, and I would say you've got to get to a point where you have some direction.
Okay.
And so I would say that if you could, obviously, as I said before, if you could string for some kind of prep class, whether it's the whole thing or whether it's just the diagnostic materials or whatever the prep companies have that kind of fits what you can do, then that would be really great. I think you would see a huge benefit to that, both in terms of how you're feeling about the process of studying for the MCAT, but also in terms of some real benefits to your practice scores as you go along. So all in all, what I think right now is you're not ready. So cutting to the chase.
Okay.
I think you're not ready. I think that when you said take it in March, I that set me back a little bit, because I think, you've got 5 months or so between now and March, but you have no plan. There's no plan there in terms of setting up yourself for success. Now, could you maybe push that to May or June? Yeah, but then I'm also concerned about the GPA in terms of it's not a bad GPA, don't get me wrong, but it's not the strong GPA that you want to see. So I'd love to see that trend continue, even if it's just a few more courses, or if you went into, you said before about the not being able to afford full scale post-bac program. There are post-bac programs that are master's degree programs,
Okay.
which a whole nother structure for funding and stuff. So what you might want to do is just spend a little bit of time checking on what are those post-bac programs. The AAMC website is actually pretty good on their list of post-bac programs, and you can kind of filter by whether they're undergraduate or graduate, whether they're structured or unstructured, or locations and different stuff like that. So you might want to go to the AAMC website and just kind of check out various programs. There's a whole ton of them up in the Northeast. Some of them are some of them are honestly super expensive, and some of them are not as bad. So just kind of check that out and kind of see what your thoughts are on that. But my feeling, the feeling that I get from the whole picture, Becky, is that I think you would benefit greatly if you would set a goal of applying in 22 instead of 21. I know that it's a kind of a difficult pill to swallow sometimes.
Yeah.
Ready to get on with it. And I'm sorry to sort of be the bummer news, but that's just my feeling. I think that you would benefit so much by having the extra time to kind of get your feet on the ground in terms of studying for the MCAT, as well as the time to, even if you're just taking a course or two here or there, to get those done and really continue and show that trend is real. And maybe who knows, maybe you can find a post-bac program that really fits in a scheme that would work for you. So I would say look at those as options. But I definitely think my feeling is that I think 21 is pushing it for you. That 22 sounds a little bit more doable, kind of depending on some of the things that we've talked about.
And you don't think it sounds or looks bad if I push it off another year?
No, I think you're going to tell your story when you apply.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell the story. It's not like you're working full time. You're working in a science area. I think if you supplement that with some shadowing on occasion, or maybe if you can do the scribe work, that would, like on the weekends or whatever. And now is it an option? I don't know how much you get paid versus what a scribe gets paid. Is it an option at all to go work full time as a scribe instead of the job that you're doing now?
No.
Okay.
I just got a raise to 20 an hour, and I pay like $1,800 a month in loans.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'd rather stick with the
that makes
paying.
that makes total sense. And that it's the balancing out the personal realities of your life with what you're trying to do. That's I think that's another reason that I think pushing it, but more directly to your question, no, I don't think that's an issue to push it back another year. I think the benefits far outweigh any issue that could be in the process. So I would say, the benefits would really be striking for you in terms of pushing it back a year and giving yourself that opportunity to look at what might be plausible in terms of MCAT studying and stuff like that.
Okay. All right.
And feel free. I'm here as a resource, so just ask away if you have other questions.
So you said for right now, my clinical experience looks good. Is there kind of an expiration date on that? Because these were last year.
Yeah, I think in terms of pushing it back, I think if you could continue to do some level of clinical activity over the course of the next year or so, that would be beneficial. Even if it's just a few hours a week, even if it's just volunteering at a local hospital. I think you talked about the CHOP opportunity that you had, and that would be, obviously that would be great. But anything that you can do that might be helpful in terms of a continuation of clinical activities. Now, they're not going to be as striking as, and as exciting as scribing in the
Oh
ER,
no.
but nothing really approaches that in terms of energy and excitement and stuff. So, but I think just anything that you can do would be pretty cool.
Okay. I mean, that's all I really have then.
Okay. Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been really great to meet you today, Becky. Thank you for
You as
joining.
well.